If you happen to see into the periodic table, you will see there are only, there are mainly there are three types of elements are there. One is metals, next one is non-metals. Of course, there is an intermediate category that is metalloids, but we will not mention much about the metalloids here. So let's see what is metal and what is the difference between them. So if you happen to see the periodic table, you can see the periodic table and to see what are the metals and the non-metals. You can see that. So now you might have understood in the periodic table most of the elements are metals. I can say only roughly around 12 or 18. So roughly less than 20 elements it would be non-metals. Most of the elements it is metal. More than 90% of the elements it is going to be metals in nature. Okay, see, and yeah, now I can tell you there are what is the difference between metal and a non-metal and how we can distinguish. So for example, this is a non-metal, sorry, this is a metal. Yeah, if I just ring it, yeah, actually it is going to, yeah, so you can hear the sound. So there are many peculiar qualities the metals are having, and there are many peculiar qualities we can identify a non-metal also. Metals are good conductors of electricity. Suppose if I connect this with this wire and which is giving light, okay, I will be getting a shock. So most of the non-metals on the other hand, okay, so if I tell you the difference, okay, metals, conductors, non-electrical conductors. Okay, so non-electrical conductors, it doesn't conduct any electricity. Okay, and metals are having high boiling point and melting point. Okay, actually, most of the metals it will be melting at a very high temperature. Non-metals, it mostly actually suppose this is a non-metal. If I put it into some melting temperature, it will be immediately melting. Okay, and yeah, most of the it is having lower boiling point, and most of the metals. So you see, even you can see this. So this is steel. Okay, so it is solid in nature. Okay, so these are solids. Solids in nature, high melting and boiling point. High melting and boiling point. On the other hand, for non-metals, it is opposite. Gases and liquids, low melting and boiling point. Okay, low melting and boiling point. So that is it about the non-metals. And now, most of the metals it is hard and it is very strong also. Hard, strong. Okay. On the other hand, non-metals it is not hard, weak. It is not weak. It is not very strong. Okay. And you see any non-metal, so sorry, any metal. See, let it be let it be a ring or like bangles. Yeah, you can see this. Okay, so if I show that into light, it is going to shine. So mostly the metals it is a shining in nature. Most of the metals, except very few, but most of the metals it will be shiny nature. So we can say that it is if you polish it, it will be shining. But on the other hand, let it be a non-metal. Yeah, if you polish it, this is glass, right? If you polish it also, it is not going to shine. So shining appearance it will be lost. So a metal it is going to shining. Non-metals it is not shining. Okay, and now metals are having high density. Most of the metals it is having high density. Okay, and the non-metals are having low density. Yeah, actually, of course, there are always exceptions. There are also some non-metals. See, for example, this is a glass. This is what this board it is a plexiglass. If I just hit it, it will be breaking because it is a non-metal. And on the other hand, if I hit this one, my hand will be breaking, not that metal will be breaking. Okay, so the metals it is going to be hard, non-metals it is not going to be hard. Okay, and a metal, if it is reacting, it will form positive ions. So Na, it will form Na plus, and see, this is a non-metal, and chlorine. So if it accepts electron, it will form Cl minus ion. Okay, so this is actually yeah, it is a non-metal because it is metals are actually a formal, and a better definition is any element which got a tendency to release electrons. I mean, which gives electrons. Okay, that is going to be a metal. And if any electrons, if it is accepting electrons, that is going to be a non-metal. Okay, so this is one of the best definition I can say. Now, again, metal, for example, if I take a metal, let it be calcium. So calcium, if it react with the oxygen, it will form calcium oxide. So this is calcium is a metal. On the other hand, you can take a non-metal, let it be phosphorus. Yeah, phosphorus, it to form P2O5. Okay, so this P2O5, it is actually, if you dissolve it into water, it will form H3PO4. Okay, so this one, if you dissolve it into water, it will form CaOH, calcium hydroxide. So this is going to be basic in nature. This is going to be acidic in nature. Okay. So the non-metals, it will form its oxides are going to be acidic. On the other hand, for metals, it is going to be basic in nature. So this is the definition. These are the differences between metals and non-metals. And now, of course, wherever you go and whatever the theorem, whatever the principles, there will be always exceptions. It will be there. Exceptions are there. For example, I said metals are the one which is conducting electricity. Is it any non-metal is conducting electricity? You might have heard about graphene. There is one material called graphene. You can also say graphite. Okay, graphene. See, this is a very exceptionally conducting material. Graphene is a non-metal, but it is a very strongly conducting material. So, though it is a non-metal. And now, metals are solids. Yeah, I said I agree most of the metals are solids. But does it all the metals are solids? No. No. For example, mercury. Mercury, this is a liquid. Okay. And now shining. Yeah, of course metals are shining, but if you take a sodium, calcium, magnesium, these metals are not that much shining. On the other hand, glass it is shining, and of course there will be further materials. And yeah, and one more property of metals are it is actually it is sonorous in nature. Sonorous means, see, this property is called sonorous. If you knock it, it will give sound. So the creation of sound, if you mechanically hit it, that property is called sonorous nature. Okay, and non-metals are non-sonorous. Okay, now let's see what is malleability and ductility. Malleability is actually metals are malleable plus ductile. Okay, but here it is opposite. It is non-malleable and non-ductile. Malleable means you can just hammer it and you can put it into the shape you want, and ductile means you can put it in the form of wires. Okay, so that is actually malleability and ductility. Okay, and so these are the common characters of metals. Okay, and now what you need to know is, and if I tell you about high density, so is it all metals are highly dense? No, actually, mercury it is going to be a liquid. On the other hand, some of the non-metals it is very 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 strong. For instance, if I tell you diamond, it is the hardest naturally known substance, but it is a non-metal. It is not a metal. Okay, so of course there are exceptions, but you can say these are some of the common general features of metals as well as non-metals. Okay, let's see what are some of the applications and uses of metals. See, I don't want to tell you like you will have a better idea than me. Like if you see around, there will be always at least some metals it will be there. See, for example, iron, it is one of the most widely used metals on the world. For example, so you can see cooking, some of the building materials, say, and concrete materials. So these are some of the very widely used materials. And aluminium, again you can see aluminium, it is using as a cooking utensil. And in aircraft, it is using aluminium wires will be using for aluminium wires, it will be using for electricity appliances. And now, like a copper it is being used for electrical wiring in homes. Okay. And again, for non-metals, again you can take a non-metals also you can take. So non-metals are, of course, it is everywhere. See, for instance, a diamond, of course, a diamond you cannot see everywhere, but still then I am saying on example, diamond, it is it is a gemstone. It is actually purely carbon. And our body, most of the living organisms are composed of non-metals. For example, if you take the dry weight of our body, human body, it is going to be, most of the fraction, it is going to be carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and phosphorus. Okay. Now, and actually, like you take the sand, it is nothing but it is a compound of silicon dioxide. Silicon dioxide, of course, silicon, it is you cannot completely say it is a non-metal. It is a metalloid, but still, then for the time being, you can consider it as a non-metal. And the air we are breathing, it contains 70 percentage nitrogen. The remaining percentage, 72% is nitrogen. The remaining percentage, it is oxygen. Okay, so that also contains major fractions are non-metals. Okay. Now